The Temple Mount in Jerusalem has never been excavated, but an illegal construction project 20 years ago opened the door to some major discoveries.
The world is in shock after a massive announcement about the Temple Mount. For decades, this 35-acre platform was a total mystery to scientists because nobody was allowed to explore it. But get this, a series of secret chambers and ancient artifacts have finally been uncovered. These items date back to a time when kings and prophets walked these streets.
This is so exciting!
Okay, that's old?
Yeah, that's the extension of the shaft.
So this is 19th century, and then down there is the ancient stuff.
Yes.
This is incredible.
It is hands down the biggest find in the history of the Middle East. You won't believe what was waiting in the dark all this time. Ancient stones speak at last. A large construction project took place on the mount without any archaeologists watching. Workers used heavy trucks and diggers to move massive amounts of earth from deep underground. They took thousands of tons of soil and just dumped it in a nearby valley like it was trash. It seemed like a total disaster for history. But get this, that soil was actually full of secrets that had been buried for 3,000 years. Scientists realized that even if they could not dig under the mount, they could look through the dirt that had already been taken out. This started what experts now call the sifting project. The Temple Mount is not just a big hill. It's a place where legends say the first temple was built by King Solomon. According to ancient texts, this temple held the Ark of the Covenant and was filled with gold. Later, a second temple was built on the same spot. This history is why every inch of the ground is considered sacred. For a long time, some people argued that the first temple was just a myth because there was no physical proof. But here is the deal. The dirt that was tossed away started providing that proof. Scientists and thousands of volunteers began washing the soil and looking for anything small. They found coins, jewelry, and pieces of pottery. But the crazy part is that they started finding items that dated all the way back to the time of the first kings of Israel. This was the first time anyone had seen physical objects from that era that came directly from the Temple Mount. It was a sign that the legends were actually based on real events. The world started to pay attention because this was not just about old rocks anymore. It was about proving that history happened exactly how the old books said it did. What most people do not realize is how hard it is to study this area. Because the site is so sensitive, any small change can cause a huge argument between nations. This is why the discovery of these items was kept quiet for a long time. Experts wanted to be absolutely sure about what they were looking at. They found things that belonged to priests and workers who lived 10 centuries before the Common Era. These finds were like pieces of a puzzle that had been missing for a very long time. As the years went by, the sifting project uncovered more than 500,000 different artifacts. Each one told a little bit more of the story. They found arrowheads from famous battles and seals from royal officials. This was evidence that the Temple Mount was the center of a very powerful and organized kingdom. It was not just a small village on a hill. It was a place of massive importance that had been built with great care. And that is putting it lightly. The experts were speechless because they were seeing things that had been hidden for thousands of years. They found fragments of expensive floor tiles that once decorated the temple courts. These tiles were made of colored stone and showed how beautiful the area used to be. Every new bucket of soil brought a new surprise. But while the sifting was happening on the outside, something even more shocking was being found on the inside. Something even bigger was hiding deep beneath the stone floor. History found in discarded dust. Walking through the sifting site is like traveling back in time. Volunteers spend hours every day looking at tiny fragments of the past. One of the most important things they found was a small piece of clay called a bulla. A bulla was used like a wax seal on a letter. When a royal official finished a scroll, they would put a piece of wet clay on the string and press their ring into it. This proved the letter was real and had not been opened. And get this, one of the seals found in the trash had the name of a priest mentioned in the Bible. This seal belonged to a man named Galyahu, who was the son of Immer. According to ancient records, the family of Immer were high-ranking priests who worked in the temple. Finding his name on a seal in the dirt was a huge moment for science. It proved that this specific person actually existed and worked on the Temple Mount. It is not that simple, though. This was just one of many seals that started to appear. Each one confirmed the names of people who were part of the royal court thousands of years ago. The scientists also found a lot of animal bones in the soil, but these were not just random bones. When they studied them, they realized the bones were from very specific types of animals that were used in religious ceremonies. The bones were also burnt in a very specific way. This showed that the rituals described in ancient texts were actually being performed right there on the mount. It was, hands down, the best evidence ever found of how the temple actually functioned day to day. But here is the deal. The most interesting part was the sheer amount of jewelry and expensive items found. They found gold beads and tiny pieces of silver. These were likely lost by people who came to visit the temple from far away. It shows that Jerusalem was a place where people from all over the world gathered. The city was a hub of wealth and culture. Basically, the Temple Mount was the heart of the entire region. What most people do not realize is that this soil was like a time capsule. Because it had been sitting undisturbed for so long, the items inside were in great shape. Even tiny seeds and pieces of wood were found. Scientists can use these to figure out what the weather was like and what people were eating 3,000 years ago. It gives us a look at the ancient world that we never had before. It is not just about the big buildings. It is about the little things that make life real. As the project continued, the researchers realized that the items they were finding were getting older and older. They found tools made of flint and stone that were used even before the temple was built. This showed that the hill was a special place long before Solomon ever arrived. People have been drawn to this spot for as long as humans have lived in the area. The history of the Temple Mount is much longer and deeper than anyone had imagined. The crazy part is that all of this was found in dirt that was supposed to be thrown away. It makes a person wonder what else is still sitting under the actual stones of the mount. If the trash is this full of history, the actual chambers must be incredible. Researchers began to use new tools to look through the ground without moving a single stone. What they saw through the rock was even more mysterious. Strange shapes were appearing deep inside the solid mountain, secret chambers beneath the bedrock. Since they could not dig, scientists had to get creative. They started using something called ground-penetrating radar. This technology sends signals into the earth that bounce back when they hit something solid or hollow. It is basically like giving the mountain an X-ray. In the last few years, the results have been coming back, and they are shocking. The radar showed that the mountain is not solid at all. It is full of rooms, hallways, and tunnels that no one has seen in a very long time. One of the most exciting finds was a series of chambers located near the southern wall. The scans showed straight lines and perfect corners, which means these rooms were definitely man-made. They are not just natural caves. Some of these rooms are very large, and they are connected by narrow passages. But get this, these chambers have been sealed off for at least 2,000 years. Nobody knows what is inside them, but their location suggests they were used for very important temple business. The crazy part is that some of these tunnels lead toward the center of the mount, right where the Holy of Holies was supposed to be. This was the most sacred room in the ancient world. Scientists believe these tunnels might have been used by priests to move around the temple without being seen by the public. It is not that simple, though. Because they cannot go inside, they have to guess based on the shapes they see on the screen. The radar also found what looks like a massive staircase that leads deep into the earth. And get this, some of the tunnels are actually filled with water. The mount has a secret history of being an engineering masterpiece. The people who built the temple were not just religious, they were brilliant builders. They carved massive cisterns into the rock to hold millions of gallons of water. This water was needed for all the ceremonies and for the thousands of people who visited every year. What most people do not realize is that there is an entire city of tunnels beneath the surface. In 2023, researchers found a specific chamber that seemed to have a very different shape than the others. It was perfectly round and had a high ceiling. Some experts think this might have been a hidden treasury, or a place where sacred scrolls were kept during times of war. The walls of this room are very thick, which shows it was built to protect whatever was inside. It is hands down one of the most mysterious spots on the entire mount. The technology also revealed that there are layers of construction. It is like a giant cake made of stone. The bottom layer is the oldest, and it has stones that are much larger than the ones on top. Some of these stones weigh over 500 tons. How ancient people moved stones that big is still a mystery. It shows that the people who built the first temple had tools and skills that we are still trying to understand. Every time the scientists run a new scan, they find something new. They have mapped out dozens of hidden voids that do not appear on any modern maps. It is like there is a whole world waiting to be explored right under the feet of the tourists. But the biggest discovery was not just the rooms. It was the way the entire mountain was designed to handle something very important for the temple. The water was moving through the mountain like blood. Mathematical mastery under the mount. The temple was more than just a place of prayer. It was a giant machine that needed a lot of water to work. Scientists have spent the last few years studying the ancient pipes and channels that run through the bedrock. They found that the builders used gravity to move water from miles away into the heart of the mount. This required a level of math and planning that is hard to believe for that time. They created a system of aqueducts that were carved into the solid stone with perfect angles. But here is the deal. The water system was not just for drinking. It was used to wash the entire temple floor after large ceremonies. The engineers built hidden drains that could clear out the area in minutes. This kept the sacred ground clean, even when thousands of people were there. And get this. They also built secret valves that could control the flow of water to different parts of the mount. This is hands down one of the most advanced plumbing systems of the ancient world. The crazy part is that the water was also used for ritual baths called mikvahs. These were used by people to become pure before they entered the holy areas. Researchers found dozens of these baths carved into the rock around the edges of the mount. Some of them are very small, while others are large enough for many people at once. The fact that they are all connected to the same water system shows how much planning went into the site. What most people do not realize is that the water system still works today in some places. Even after thousands of years, the tunnels and cisterns are still holding water. This shows how durable the construction was. The builders used a special kind of waterproof plaster made of lime and ash. This plaster is so strong that it has not cracked even after centuries of use. It is a level of quality that we rarely see in modern times. The experts also found that the tunnels were designed to echo in a specific way. Some think this was done to help the sound of the priests' voices travel throughout the temple. It was not just about how it looked, it was about how it felt and sounded. Every detail was carefully thought out to create a specific experience. The mount was a masterpiece of architecture, engineering, and art all rolled into one. As they looked closer at the water channels, they found that they all led to a central point deep underground. This area is located right beneath where the altar used to stand. It seems the builders created a way to collect all the liquid from the altar and wash it away into the valley below. This kept the site sanitary and holy. It is a brilliant solution to a very difficult problem. This engineering proves that the ancient world was much more advanced than we usually think. They were not just primitive people with simple tools. They were masters of their environment. But as we learn more about the tunnels and the water, a bigger question remains. If we can see all of this with radar, what will happen when someone finally opens those doors? The true secret of the mount is still waiting in the dark. Unveiling the ultimate mystery. The Temple Mount is a place where faith and science are always in a race, a collision of ancient prophecy and cutting-edge ground-penetrating radar. We now have concrete, physical proof that the stories of the First Temple are not merely religious allegory, but are instead based on a real, terrifyingly advanced kingdom that dominated the ancient Levant. The artifacts being pulled from the sifted dirt, the tiny clay seals belonging to kings and prophets, and the massive, hollow chambers recently detected by sophisticated radar tell a story of a city that was not just a regional capital, but the literal center of the world. But here is the deal. Everything we think we know is just a distraction from the reality beneath the limestone. There is still so much we do not know, because the most crucial, high-energy areas of the Mount are still hermetically sealed by politics, religion, and, perhaps, something far more ancient. It is a mystery that has lasted for 3,000 years, and as we stand on the threshold of a new era of discovery, we are only just scratching the surface of a truth that could reshape the human species. What most people do not realize is that the discovery of these hidden rooms could change everything we know about history, physics, and our place in the cosmos. If the Ark of the Covenant is actually down there, we aren't just talking about a golden box filled with stone tablets. We are talking about a piece of technology so volatile and powerful that the ancients had to wrap it in lead and gold just to survive its presence. Some welder theories suggest the Ark wasn't a religious relic at all, but a high-voltage capacitor or a communication device used to bridge the gap between our dimension and another. If that treasure is sitting in a lead-lined chamber beneath the foundation stone, it would be the biggest find in human history, proving that the ancients possessed a lost science that we are only now beginning to replicate with our most advanced particle accelerators. The radar data suggests the existence of a labyrinthine network of tunnels that don't follow the logic of traditional drainage or storage. These voids are massive, carved with a precision that defies the bronze tools of the era. This leads to the staggering possibility that the Temple Mount itself is not just a hill, but a colossal artificial megastructure, a pre-Diluvian machine built by a civilization that predates the Israelites by millennia. We have to consider the theory that the first temple was actually a retrofit of a much older, more mysterious platform. Perhaps the massive stones at the base, some weighing hundreds of tons, weren't moved by simple pulleys and ropes, but by acoustic levitation or frequency manipulation. There are whispers among fringe researchers that the temple was designed as a giant resonator, a place where the specific frequency of human prayer could be amplified and beamed into the ionosphere, or perhaps deeper into the Earth's crust to stabilize the very tectonic plates we live upon. The mystery deepens when you consider why these areas remain sealed. Is it truly just a matter of keeping the peace between competing religions? Or is there a global effort to keep the lid on a Pandora's box of ancient energy? Some suggest the Mount sits on a primary ley line node, a thinning of the veil where time and space behave differently. There are accounts of time slips in the deeper tunnels, where workers have emerged feeling as though minutes had passed when hours had actually vanished. If the Temple Mount is a focal point for a planetary energy grid, then the glory of the Lord described in ancient texts might have been a visible physical plasma discharge generated by the Mount's unique geometry. For now, we have to wait and watch as technology gets better, and more secrets are revealed through the cracks in the official narrative. Every new scan reveals more anomalies, voids that shouldn't be there, metallic signatures that shouldn't exist in a pre-Iron Age context, and structural alignments that point towards stars that haven't been in those positions for 12,000 years. The Temple Mount continues to be the most mysterious place on Earth, a silent sentinel guarding a secret that could prove we are not the first advanced civilization to walk this planet, nor are we the most powerful. We are waiting for the moment when the seal is finally broken, and the center of the world finally speaks. Could the answers to our history be sitting right under our feet in Jerusalem? What do you think is hidden in the chambers that are still sealed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories.